So hello everyone. In today's class, we'll be seeing about Waman Kardak's I Don't Get Angry. So this video I prepared for the second M English students for the course titled Literature of the Marginalized in India. And the genre I have taken today to discuss is poetry. And the topic that I've chosen is Waman Kardak's poem I Don't Get Angry. I'm sorry about that. I couldn't make it as a slideshow for some reason. So I hope it is visible. So first of all, let me begin with a short introduction, or I would like to throw I would like to throw light on what Dalit poetry is about. Because I hope, as you recall, we have seen the characteristics of Dalit poetry in the previous class. So what is Dalit poetry, or what is the main theme of Dalit poetry? It is a form of protest and resistance, right? So Dalit poetry or Dalit poems, or they are not the poetry or the poems of acceptance, endurance, advocating for sympathy. No, they are advocating protest and resistance, right? So when you go through the poems that have been prescribed in the anthology, you could see that none of the writers are, trying to project the sympathetical side of their sufferings, right? They were ready to fight. They are talking about that, right? They were talking about the atrocities that are being done to them, and they are ready to fight against it, right? So Dalit poetry is a form of protest and resistance. As Alice Walker puts it, or she has given this phrase, resistance is the secret of joy. Right? Dalit poetry, the Dalit writers, they know that they can't win this fight because it's a quite lengthy one. It's quite a very difficult one. So at least let me show how I would like to protest, how I would like to resist all that are being dumped on me. Right? That is the beauty of Dalit poetry. Whenever you read, you could empathize with their sufferings, but they do not want your sympathy. Right? They do want you to understand the real oppression that is taking place, and they do want you not to hold them back when they are trying to protest, right? It was a poetry that talks about social injustice and oppression in a greater detail. Struggle for identity, right? It's a struggle for human identity. The very status is being robbed. They are dehumanized. They are not treated like humans. They are even equated with the animals, right? The Dalit poetry talks about how they are dehumanized, how they are deterritorialized, right? In the same place in which they were born, they were not deemed human at all. So Dalit poetry, it talks about that. It is a poetry of resistance and rebellion, right? There is a fire in them. Whenever you read Dalit poetry, particularly Waman Kardak's, Hira Bansod, Namdeo Dasal's poem, you get the fire. You get the instant touch of fire, the spark in you. You would like to, question all the injustices that are, heaping upon the Dalits, right? It's a pure, a rebellious aspect. It talks about human dignity and equality. It advocates equality. It talks about the pain and suffering of the people. At the same time, it does not want your sympathy. Writers, they do not want your sympathy. They want your comprehension, understanding, and the logical reasoning to stop all these injustices. Right? When the Dalit people read this poem, what happens to them? It awakens Dalit consciousness, right? It's a kind of a collective conscious, like how they share the same sufferings, the collective memory of what all happened to their ancestor, whatever is happening to them, what will happen to their progeny. It awakens Dalit consciousness. And the most beautiful thing is the use of vernacular and regional languages. It is not written in high bro language. It is a low bro language, which is used by the common masses, common people, the Dalit people. Even the Brahmins could understand it, right? They could not say that they cannot claim that it's beyond their understanding. No, it is of a vernacular tongue or something that is spoken daily, something that could be easily understood. So, as we have seen, this is quite a continuation of the previous class that we've seen about the characteristics of Dalit poetry. So, it is a poetry that advocates equality, that advocates, an identity, an equal identity that awakens Dalit consciousness. All these are done through a form of protest, resistance, and rebellion, right? Yeah. So Waman Kardak. So in this class, we'll be particularly seeing about Waman Kardak's poetry. So I thought I would introduce this writer to you. So Waman Thabaji Kardak, 15th August 1922 to 15th May 2024. He was popularly known as Vamananda Kardak. He was a Marathi poet and playwright. So he used to write all his writings in Marathi that were later translated in English. So he was a singer, he was a shahid, musician, and artist. He was a philosopher, he was a musician, he was an artist, and he was a singer, writer, poet, and a playwright. He was hailed as the modern Kabir of Maharashtra, right? Kabir Das, you would have known, right? The modern Kabir of Maharashtra. And he was very popular because he wrote in the language of the masses. As I previously told you, all the Dalit writers, they made it a point to write in the language of the masses because the common people should be reading. The common people should read and should understand what is being, written about. That was their aim. And his philosophy made radical changes than his words. So, what was his philosophy? We'll be seeing, right? When you get to know, when you read the poem or his other poems or his autobiography, you'll get to know what idea he was, endorsing. So, lived among Dalit Bahujans and wrote his songs. He was not one of the writer who sits in his ivory tower and talks about, the Dalit people. He lived as one among them, one amongst them. He experienced all that were experienced by them, and he wrote the poems. So the point of perspective or the point of view, it is through the Dalit Bahujans, the Dalit people who were marginalized. As the course title goes, literature of the marginalized in India. So in India, the marginalization only could happen through community, right? Because we cannot be separated by the color of our skin, as is done in the Western countries, right? The best, a person could be treated as the other mainly because of two things, right? There are many things too, but skin color and language, they become the markers of marginalization zone. This is my belief. It's open to many kind of interpretation pluralities, but skin color and language, they become the primary identity markers, for a person to be considered as the other. Yeah. Uh, for instance, you could talk about the marginalization that is based on the skin color. What could be better than the example of, the antebellum slavery that was done to the black people because their skin color was black, right? When it comes to India, yeah, we have discussions and conflicts about the color complexions, but the major division, the marginalization comes in the form of communities, right? Yeah. So his autobiography was titled Majya Jeevnach Gan, The Song of My Life. He wrote about the artistic process of his creations. So he was not only talking about the injustices, the oppressions that are faced by the Dalit people, he was also talking about his creative process, how his ideas have been conceived, what made him write, what were his inspirations, what were his influences, and what did he write about, how did he write about the things that he wanted to write about. Yeah. So his autobiography was titled Majya Jeevanach Gan, The Song of My Life. He broken the rules of musicology. As we have seen before, he was a singer too. So he broke the rules. He did not follow the conventions. He did not write a song as per the conventions or the rules as to how a poem or how a song should be written. No, he delivered or he devised or he deciphered his own style, his own, a process of creation. I've been publishing my songs as a representation of the anxiety of a restless man. So, what were his songs about? His songs were a kind of a representation of his anxiety, right? How a restless man, how could he feel? What are the things that he could feel? What did he think about? What did he, wanted to say to others? All of the anxieties, a restless mind, right? You could understand when mind is restless, you would be jumping from one thought to other. He was writing about all the anxieties. Anxiety is nothing but the worry of what could happen, right? When you are restless, when your mind is restless, that you would be thinking about that. Oh, what if that happens? What if this happens? All the kind of the narrative scenarios, the anxiety attack that would be happening. He was talking about that. I've accepted the language of illiterate people, and that became the language of my songs. So, whatever he wrote about, he wrote in the language of the common people. He was writing for them, he was writing as one of them, right? He drew upon his anxieties in a 1993 speech he delivered at the All India Ambedkar Literature Convention in Wardha, right? He talked about all the anxieties, all his ideas, all his sufferings, all his, realistic and imaginary narrative scenarios that existed in his mind in the convention. That was aptly titled All India Ambedkar Literature Convention that happened in Wardha. So, what was his content? What did he write about in general? The people, their hopes, losses, dreams, their aspirations, their pain, their joys, and their language. Right? As I told you, these are the markers. You could talk about everything, right? The markers are nothing but something, or you said that as a benchmark to classify people, right? So he was talking about all these things. People are the central force and pivotal content of his poems, songs, and music. What was his purpose? A casteless republic where there is no caste, where there is no community, where there is no, any other division among people. That was his purpose. He was advocating for equality of all, for all. Where did he draw his ideology, philosophical ideas, the philosophical ideas that were converted into, words, into music, songs. So he was borrowing ideas from Buddha, Pule, and Ambedkar, right? He was so much influenced by Buddhism. He started writing, imbibing all the ideologies of Buddhism. He wrote and performed for 55 years. Vamananda's songs amplified what Baba Saheb had spoken about, right? Nothing but equality and the advocacy for equality and opportunity for a person to recognize his identity. Many have confessed that they realized the teachings of Ambedkar through his songs. So he was also influenced by Ambedkar, and he was, writing about the preachings of Ambedkar in his songs. In 1965, my life changed when I heard the songs of Vamananda explaining the importance of Buddha's thoughts. Our lives have changed because Vamananda has told us the thoughts of Baba Sahib through Beam Gite. So one of the is an anonymous, a quote. So one of the, the readers or the audience, one from the audience of his performance, Vamananda's performance, he actually witnessed the radical change that is happening in the audience. Those who hear his songs for the first time or for the umpteenth number of time, the spark, the fire that could be, that was contagious because he was advocating the preachings of Ambedkar as well as Buddha. His songs never glorified the victimhood of his community, but guided and nourished its history. As I told, he was not portraying the Dalits as victims. Rather, he wanted to make a clear understanding to people of how they are treated. Right? He was very much into the history of the Dalit people, like for the progeny to understand, for the current people to understand why they are suffering, right? And he is talking about the past because the mistakes could be corrected if we have a complete understanding of the past. So he was talking about everything uh, save the victimhood of the Dalits. That was the beauty of his poems. So the title of the poem that I've chosen today is I Don't Get Angry, right? Waman Kardak, he's written this in Marathi language. It was later translated. The translator note is as follows. This song of a popular Dalit folk singer recalls the days of the active movement under the leadership of Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. So he was a folk singer. Who? Waman Kardak, right? So as you know, folk songs, they are part of, one's culture, history, tradition. They reflect what is being, witnessed by the people for years together, right? Dr. Ambedkar, he was known for leading many active movements during the time of Dalit appraisal. He was fighting for their equality, and many have, took inspiration from his teachings, took him as inspiration to write about their feelings. So this I Don't Get Angry, it's also a kind of poem that was reflected or that was reflective of Ambedkar's, teaching. The Peshwai refers to the 18th century rule of the Brahmin prime ministers of Maharashtra. So this was particularly, set up during the time of the Peshwai, the 18th century rule of the Brahmin prime ministers of Maharashtra, which, the Brahmins used to claim to hold on to, justify the oppression or the suppression of the Dalit people. So we'll move on to the text. I don't get angry. I don't get angry. This is my sin. Who can I blame? Tell me, who can I blame? So the very first sentence, I don't get angry. This is my sin. So the poet says that he has committed a sin. What is his sin? He don't get angry. He doesn't get angry, right? He's not able to get angry when he has to be angry. The rightful situations for the right situations. So he's not able to get angry when the situation demands it. He considers it as a sin. And he has no one else to blame. He says, who can I blame? It's a rhetorical question, right? It answers itself. He says that I should get angry, but I'm not getting angry, right? This is my sin. I do not have anyone to blame but myself. The village is the same. The villages are the same. When my beam was alive, they used to tremble. King Beam went away. Cowardice came. He's talking about Ambedkar, right? He says that everything is the same, right? The village is the same, the villages are the same. But when Ambedkar was alive, when he was fighting for us, when he was fighting for Dalit people, everyone used to treat us in a different manner. Everyone was very afraid of him. He was there to speak for us. We do not need to worry at all. But after his death, everything changed. We did not have the courage. We were engulfed by our cowardice, right? Our fear, our trepidation. So this, sentence shows much about the temperament of the Dalit people. They were looking for a leader. They were not ready to come forth and fight for themselves, right? This is one of the most discussed feature of the people, because they were suppressed for so long that they were not even able to feel angry, at what is being done to them. Instead, all they experience is fear, a kind of a trepidation, right? So when Ambedkar came, he was leading them all. He stood in the forefront and he asked everybody to follow him, and people were very happy to follow him too. But after his death, he was referred as King Beam. Beam. He was usually referred as Beam. King Beam went away and Cowardice came. So after his death, no one was ready to take his place, right? No one is ready to was ready to fight for them, and so they stepped back. They were engulfed in fear. They were engulfed in cowardice. They become cowards. Even though I met with cruel hard times, Beam was with me. My head was held high. But today I have diminished the beam in me, right? So previously, when he was alive, right, when my leader was alive, I held my head high. I fought for the things that belonged to me, that I deserved, right? But after his death, you know, even I diminished the beam in me. I had the spirit, because Dr. Ambedkar, he was known for instilling the spirits of, the persistence, of resistance, of protest in his followers. That was one of the another prominent feature that comes up while discussing about Ambedkar and his teachings. So the poet says that, I had the spirit of Ambedkar in me. I had the spirit of Ambedkar's teaching in me. I had the spirit of protest, that fire, that resistance, that persistence. But once he died, all that went away, right? I could not get them back. So he laments, I do not have anyone to blame. All these are occurring because of my fault, my cowardice. Before, when he was alive, I was a different person. Even after his death, I had the spirit in me, but I did not let the spirit to grow inside me, right? Instead, I diminished it inside me. I diminished it within myself. Here, there, they stripped naked my mothers, my sisters. I don't get angry. I don't get angry. Today, I see my own honor dishonored. This is another brutal, the corporeal violence, that is being described here by the poet. So it's very common, as we all know, the Dalit women, the lower caste women, they were, they raped, they were, subjected to all forms of violence. So the poet says that, they stripped naked my mothers, my sisters, even wives, children, all these could be added. The another important thing is, it could be considered from the point of gender too. If you want to humiliate a person, you could touch his family. By humiliating his family, by harming his family, you could dishonor a person. This has been the representation of the dishonoring act that has been done in media, in literature too. In media, if you see, if a villain wants to hurt a person, he'll directly go for the family, and particularly the female, the women of the family, because it is a disgrace. For a man, if he is not able to protect his women, he's considered to be a dead person, a corpse, right? So he talks about that, right? They are stripping naked my mothers. They are raping my mothers, my sisters. But I'm not getting angry. I cannot get angry, right? See, my own honor is being dishonored, right? My respect is being taken away from me. My family, my women are being taken away from me. But I do not get angry. This is another brutal representation of the violence that was inflicted on the Dalit people, particularly Dalit women. My own daughter's virtue is looted in public. My eyes look on, my body shakes. Cowardice grows from my helplessness. So the poet continues to say that, he says, my own daughter's virtue is looted in public, right? My daughter is being raped, but here I stand, full of cowardice. I could not go fight, right? I'm totally helpless. If I go fight, my life will be, taken away from me. I'll be easily killed. I'll be easily attacked. I don't know. I don't know why I do not get angry, right? I look on whatever is happening, but my mind fails to register that, except fear. My brother is burnt alive in my hut. What happened, what did not, doesn't go in the book. Today, I myself wipe out the marks my feet have made. So my brother is burnt alive in the hut. Everything is destroyed. My family members, they are dishonored. I am dishonored. My women are raped, right? My family is torn apart. My livelihood is taken away from me. The house where I live in is destroyed, right? Nothing about this goes in the record of the history. Nobody talks about this. Even I have to go back to erase the mark that is making, because it's not much of a big difference to anybody, right? Nobody's, that caring. Nobody has time to care about what is happening to these people, to my people. So he says, everything is done. Everything is done, but it does not get recorded in the history. For there is no one to pay attention to. No one is there to fight for us. Every day the axe falls on my people. My hunger, my dead will are guests in my house. I am cowed. That doubles the torment, right? Every day my people are killed in the name of one thing or the other, right? Every day my people are killed. Our rights are violated. Maybe women are violated. Lives are being robbed away, right? My will, my hunger, that is all that remains, but that is of nothing use to me, right? I'm cowed. I'm fully tormented. I have no way to go out. I have no one to pin my hopes on. Everything is destroyed. I was a lion's cub. Now I'm a lamb's tail. This is a comparison. Lion, it could be compared to that of Ambedkar. Lamb, it's of less significance. I'm nothing now. Before I had my leader. He was there. He was ready to fight for us. Nobody dared to touch us. Passing my leader. But they cannot. They cannot stop themselves now because my leader is dead. Right. So I'm a free bait to them. The people are wolves who will hunt the wolves. So he says that upper class people, those who are trying to, suppress them, subjugate them, they are wolves. They are very cunning. They are very particular that we should say suppressed. We should say stay subjugated. So he compares those people as wolves. My blood does not boil like King Beam's did. I cannot compare myself to King Beam because I'm not him. King Beam was another total different person, a creation, right? He was fighting for us. His blood boiled whenever he came across such injustice. But I cannot react the same way because I'm not King Beam. He talks about, he could understand that. He talks about how, his identity is troubled. As a man, he could not guard his house. As a lower caste, person, he could not even fight for his identity. as a collective, he could not fight for his people and all. He's troubled by this. He's tormented by this. He knows that he should get angry. He should fight for, whatever is being done to him and his family and to his people. But he's simply not able to do, because he says that he's not courageous. He's a coward. He's full of fear. He's full of trepidation. So, and he says, I'm simply a tail, right? I'm a tail that is not very much considered as an important organ. Head is considered to be an important organ creature. I'm just a tail. I have nothing to do, right? The people are wolves. I cannot fight against the wolf. I'm simply a lamb, right? I do not possess the strength to fight against these wolves. A new Peshwa has come, grinding me underfoot. I don't get angry. I don't get angry. With my own hands, I burnt my everything to ash. So this happens, this continues. A new Peshwa, a new ruler has come, a new Brahmin prime minister has come, a new upper class minister has come, a new upper class ruler has come. So he's ready to, throw us all in the pit. He's ready to throw all the lower class people in the pit. He's grinding us under his feet. So he says, nothing has changed. Nobody is going to fight for us. Even I am not getting angry. I am not going to fight for us. I will let everything, happen just the way it used to be. I burnt everything to ash. So when you look at this poetry, it shows, it does not allow you to consider the Dalit as, to over sympathize with them, right? He says that he is the reason to blame. He has himself to blame for his condition. He was looking for a leader like Ambedkar, because he was fighting for all the people. But after his death, there was no proper person to take his place. But that shouldn't stop one from fighting. Even if you're going to die, you should die with honor. But I was not ready to do it. I don't get angry. I'm full of fear. I'm a coward. I'm full of trepidation, of anxiety, of how, I will survive this. So he does not blame anyone. He says that I'm the reason for this. I'm the reason for my situation. I have no one to blame other than myself. So he's instilling a kind of, a spark in the people, those who read, right? Every Dalit person who is, patiently suffering, patiently willing to endure all that is being done to him, he has only himself or herself to blame, right? So Kardak's, Waman Kardak's, I don't get angry. It's a pure reflection of the agony of the agony about his inability to act, his inability to fight, his cowardice, his fear. You know, it beautifully portrays that. That is why Waman Kardak's poems are breath of fresh air. They talk about how you need not go and blame the upper class person, caste person, a rich person. You are there to blame, because you're not ready to fight, because you're not ready to change your situation, because you do not want to change your situation, even when your women are being violated, even when your house is being burnt, even when you are put into the deep pit, right? You are there to blame. It is a kind of an appeal to every person who is silently suffering to come forward and fight. Even if they lack a leader, they should fight for themselves. So I've added some quiz questions here. You can try answering this. Dalit poetry is a form of dash. Who is considered as the modern Kabir of Maharashtra? Who is referred as Bhim in Dalit poetry? Dash refers to the 18th century rule of the Brahmin prime ministers of Maharashtra. I Don't Get Angry was written by which writer? Which is sin according to Waman Kardak? Which of the following is Kardak's autobiography? Waman Kardak's ideology was rooted in which religion? Who is regarded as the father of Dalit literature? Waman Kardak wrote his poetry in which language? So, from this poem, it could be easily understood that the victimhood of or the victimization of the Dalits, was not the main purpose of these Dalit writers. They want the Dalit people to be considered on par, on par, or not even on par, to be, considered as humans, right? The dehumanization should go. The deterritorialization of their place should be removed. So that is the main purpose of this, Dalit writings. This has been advocated in Kardak's thing. You could try answering this quiz when you get time. So in the next class, we'll be doing another one of Waman Kardak's poem to learn more about, his ideology, right? To learn about his Buddhism. So in this poem, we could see that he has followed, Ambedkar's teaching. Ambedkar, he has claimed that even if I'm not here, you have to fight for it. You should not always expect a person to stand in front of you to fight. You have to fight for yourself. So he has, taken that and he has written this beautiful poem about how he's there to blame himself. So these are the references that I've used, an anthology of Dalit literature and Indian Cultural Forum that gives a very detailed description of Waman Kardak's writings, and another blog spot that talks about what is happening in the Jawaharlal Nehru University and many of the prominent universities where Dalit students are marginalized. So yeah, we'll meet in the next class. Thank you.